Yes, now family, welcome back to another video on Jazza TV, fresh out of the gym. Today we're going to talk about our newest signing, which is Brian Phillips. Brian Phillips is a fantastic fighter in Liverpool. Myself and Mitchell had a conversation with Brian and his coach, Jay Carney, who's also his friend. And we came to an arrangement that we will all work together on the same page. Brian, to me, I know what Brian can do. Brian's never fulfilled his own potential, because I first seen Brian fighting on a run con show when Brian was about 27. Brian must be about 28, 29 now. And I said, wow, he can fight him. And I always kept an eye on him since. Not long after I found out he was nuts. He was round the bend. And at the time, we had, what did we have? We had BBM, Blackberry Messenger. Now the kids today won't even understand what I'm talking about, but there was something called Blackberry Messenger. Before that was MSN and MySpace. Now I'm showing my age here, but Brian was round the bend. I remember him back in the day on the Blackberry Messenger. And then Brian used to come and watch me fight as well. And then not long after that, Brian came to the same gym I was. It was a pro-am gym, and I was a professional there, and Brian was amateur. I'm sweating my head off here, just finished my session. So Brian, I always knew what he could do, and he had a lot of fights as an amateur which went 50-50, and once you've got a 50-50 record, you start fighting lads who will take the fight, who are also 50-50 fighters, and you can go either way. You know, you can have a 50-50 record. You've won 50%. But it doesn't tell a whole story, you know, because it's not always the case, and you win some, you lose some, you get robbed, you rob some people, just the way it is in the boxing system as an amateur fighter. So yeah, Brian Phillips turned professional, and it was always something that I did advise because of his style. Stylistically, he was good, and he was suited to the pros, because he had more of a I wouldn't say he was a fat twitch fiber. Yeah, he's a fat twitch fiber type of fighter. Instead of being a fast twitch fiber type of fighter, he was more of a roller and a slugger, and he would pick his shots, and he could get close and could roll and head movements, and he was that more that type of fighter. So I wouldn't say that he started out on a good path, Brian, and he developed into a good fighter, and he decided to do new things under different coaches, and sometimes that can be the way. Sometimes you find your coach, sometimes you try your best to gel with a coach and you listen to the coach, but sometimes it's not the best thing for you, you know. Sometimes you get more success with a different coach, but then a different coach can be not the best for you as a person sometimes. I'm not saying this is Brian's case, by the way, but just one reason or another, sometimes things don't gel, you know. Sometimes you find your way, and that's the situation here, I believe, with Jay Carney, because them two are mates. They've been good mates for years. They was teammates. Jay Carney, another good professional boxer, tough, fight anyone, same with the record, he'd fight anyone, so therefore he'd fight them last minute. His record weren't the best, so they're gonna work together, and I'm gonna be working alongside them and trying to help them. So yeah, it's fantastic to try and have one last roll of the dice with Brian. I believe he can do something. I believe he can win some sort of title, and that's his dreams. He has took fights not short notice, more like fights where he was taking a fight as the underdog, not because he was the underdog as in like he weren't good enough to win the fight, but because like it was on everyone else's terms, if that makes sense. And he was so hungry to prove a point, to prove how good he was. He ends up in fights with likes of world champion Nick Ball, which he was doing great in that fight until he got caught with a good shot, and then he fought Michael Gomez, which was a really good fight. Yeah, so he's been in some really good fights with good fighters too. So yeah, it's going to be a good ride, good one last roll of the dice with Brian, and I hope I can deliver for him, as every manager. You know, it's nice, you know what I mean, to deliver for your fighters. The experience that I've had so far with my fighter, when I say my fighter, he's my friend, you know, my friend first and foremost, John Edwardson, and it's so rewarding on the night to see him do well. But ultimately, you don't win as a manager, and you don't lose as a manager, which is so important to tell your fighters, because it's it's important that they take the reins on the career and not give it up to, and in a way, like, the manager works for you. That's what I'm trying to say, because ultimately when you go home back to your family, you sleep at night, but your fighter is the one who has to deal with the headaches in the morning, you know, the concussion, the salary. Is he content with it or not? So that's so important that I stay in my box as a manager, and that's one thing that I want to maintain as a manager, the fighter mentality, to understand that I am doing a manager's job here, but it's important to understand that the fighter is in control, you know. And one thing I also don't agree with is, like, a manager can get paid more than a fighter. Sorry, no, they can't. But a manager can get paid more than a coach, which the coach spends every single day in the gym with the manager, and the manager can take 10%, and then the coach will take 10%. The manager can take up to like 15. I'm sure it could be 20. I don't even know, but yeah. So it's a crazy thing where a manager can get paid more than a coach. I was speaking not long last week to Joe Gallagher about this, and he said, he put me onto it, and I was like, wow, yeah, that is crazy. But it's something I always did think, like, 10% to a manager and 10% to a coach, it doesn't add up, you know. But then again, how much you pay a coach, because it's a 10% gig, innit? So therefore, and what a lot of people don't understand is, as a manager, I'm not trying to fucking sell myself shorty, but a manager's I always pay a manager 10%, but a manager doesn't take 10%. A manager takes 10% after you pay your coach. That's what young fighters should know. And I'm talking as a fighter now, aren't I? Because it doesn't go in my favour if a fighter knows that as a manager. But a manager takes 10% after you've paid your coach. So a £10,000 purse, and you pay 1,000 to the coach, a manager takes 10% of £9,000, which is £900. So a manager doesn't get £1,000, he gets 900. Now you're talking about £100, but then when it's millions, you're talking about 150 quid. I think my maths is not quite on point there, but anyway, family, yeah, welcome to the team. Brian Phillips, buzzing to be working with you as a friend. I hope we keep our friendship first and foremost before things go wrong and go sour and I rob the back out of you, and I end up in a law case with you. So yeah, Brian, it's going to be good while it lasts before we end up in court. Please like, subscribe and leave a comment. That was a joke, by the way. I hope the boxing board of control don't get on me for that one. But you have a lovely day, family. Thanks for watching.